The other stuff we love so much, everybody.
I know.
Time for New News Sports. It's all about sports and jock straps, girls and sports bras. So you don't jiggle when you run. Maybe I ought to get me one because I'm jiggling some. Hey, 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 hey.
That's a nice little intro. I'm not complaining no more. I'm on board with it now, man.
Oh, you got it now? It's cool now?
It's all right now. You know, you can't rebel against it. It's like sitting back and going, can you turn away 3 gorgeous women, 10s knocking at your door saying, can I come in? And they all say it at the same time.
My age, that's scary. I don't know if I have enough Cialis for that. That's scary. I'm going to have to call Mac, have him fly in, you know.
Okay.
Take 1 or 2 of them off my hands.
Take a couple of them
Mac,
off your
take
hands.
a couple of them off my hands, Mac.
Hey, especially if you got a name like Mac. Everybody going to think you're Mac. I mean.
No, I just thought about that.
Yeah.
Mac, you got old pimp name.
Right. So, I mean.
The Mac, he's like the Mac. But he doesn't have a K on his. It's M-A-C, but it's still the same.
It's still the same.
Mac, because it's Mac McAllister, though.
Yeah.
But he's a double Mac.
Yeah, he's a double Mac. You can't be a Mac like and have a name like Stanley.
That's right.
That's me. My
Mac.
name is
He got
Stanley.
a cool name.
Yeah. All right. That's cold, Mac. All right. Y'all can knock me in the head on this because we got to deal with Miami Heat. But when I looked at what I did here, I said, wow, Victor, I see the title of your topic here says, did the Miami Heat's Erik Spoelstra crying game media blitz seal his coaching his fate?
Well, Head Start's doing a wonderful job. We support them, a school lunch program.
Wait a minute. I had to look at it twice.
You didn't get it. You know, if you
I
don't
looked
eat
at
good.
it twice. You know what it is, Mario?
What?
Everybody thinks they can get it on the first time.
It's going to the public schools. See, back at we went to public schools.
Right.
They were a lot better then.
All right. I'm sorry because I had to look at it. I just sat there and said, what was you thinking when you put this up here?
That's
I said,
all right.
You know, but I love when everybody hits me over the head because y'all, let us, I'm country. Family from Alabama, born and raised here, but family's from Alabama. Bottom line is, I like when people knock me over the head and says, Victor, I said, okay, well, you want to volunteer to be my backup secretary?
People love to point out your typos.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
They write you. You have a typo.
Yeah, I love it.
Bitch, I know. Shit.
Wait a minute.
I'm sorry.
All right. What's worse, my typo or Charlie Sheen with the hair?
I'll go back and show you that again.
Right. That's crazy.
His hair look weirder than my hair. And I'm a black man with an old natural.
All right, let me stop. All right,
I
you
said
guys.
fucked up.
I know,
Fucked
you
up.
went there. You went there. All right, you guys, look, I'm looking at Erik Spoelstra, and I think, here's the part that I said you just don't do. I actually said, had to say to myself, did he seal his deal? Because one thing I just think you don't do. There are coaches in America at all levels, high school, college, and professional. When you come out and you talk to the media, what is to gain when you say some players are crying in the back room, in the locker? Is that a call for sensitive sympathy? You're trying to reach out and say, oh, feel sorry for him? That's a bad move. Why would you do that? And would you do it as a coach? Because
I don't know why he did it. Maybe it was a slip of the tongue.
No. Did you see it?
Well, yeah. He said he tried to play it down afterwards.
Right. Well.
I mean, I don't get it. I don't know. I told you the part of my issue is they needed to get like an old veteran coach. They need like They need like Popovich or somebody.
Dude,
they could do it.
When they followed up on this story and then they went back to him, and then he then went on and said, well, bottom line, the question is did Miami Heat's Erik Spoelstra miscalculate the crying game admission of his players? I think he terribly just looked at it at a moment, and he was emotional with it. Most people are going like, did he make a bad move, and is it bad that his players are crying? I said, no, it's okay they cry. Just don't let nobody else know they're crying. Here's the thing. I think he's done to a certain extent to me. The only reason why I say that, only reason why it's going to take a miraculous turnaround, and it won't be because of him necessarily. It'll be because of the players, because the players deliver on the floor.
Well, he made him look like, wussies.
What is that?
A wussy.
Okay, I don't know. You could determine.
That's a woody little kitty cat.
All right.
A little kitty cat that lives in the woods.
Okay. All right.
Call them wussies.
All right. Well, okay. And I'm going to say this. Most of you guys already know this. Bottom line, he already went back on it and tried to clean it up. And you never backstep. Media listens to everything and says, this is the one time you said it. You said some players are crying in the locker room. A couple of players. Now, here you come back and say, well, I really want to say that they had glossy eyes. Now, can you backstep on what you said the players were doing? Does that look even worse? So you're digging a hole that's even bigger. Would you have done that? Is that the wrong move to make?
It is the wrong move.
Okay, so he sealed his fate. Here's the question I have for you guys.
Well, I mean, they still picked. No offense, when he was selected as the coach, so many of us had comments about that, right, Vic?
Yes.
They agreed, the big three, right?
Right.
The big triumvirate. This is who they wanted.
Right. Well, and here's the thing: they did make a point of this. It's coming back to hit you because you actually were celebrating. And this is the media in Miami. It's the organization. It's all those, the management who's on the PR role, and they're trying to celebrate everything. And it looks like a pre-championship celebration. All right.
They were going to say that anyway.
Right.
They were going to
It's a no-win situation.
That's right. Either way.
Either way. And I'm not knocking Miami, and I'm not knocking Spoelstra because of his commentary, because I do believe if you're a good coach, you get away with saying anything you want.
Rex Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. That's it. So here's the questions I have for you, Mario. You could take it any
Bobby
way you
Knight.
like. Well, we got that coming too. Okay. Did he have his coaching fate sealed? And it can happen between a certain amount of time. If he's around 2 or 3 years from now, he's gotten past it. But here's my question. What choices do you think most are closely associated with his fate? Yes, he will remain the coach of the year, but not the 2012 season. Or he will be replaced before the playoffs if they continue the continued losing streak. He will be the coach for at least 3 more years. No coach Spoelstra will resign after the end of the season. What do you think is more going to be what happens to Coach Erik Spoelstra?
Well, I think maybe more likely one. First of all, I expect that he'll be judged basically more by how they do in the playoffs. So you still have room to see what's going to happen.
Right.
And I also have another perspective. I actually think that in the long term, maybe 10 years from now, Vic, this is kind of strange, but imagine how I think that he'll ultimately be a successful NBA coach. I think just because he's so young, he catches hell.
Right.
But I think that looking back on this, it's going to be like even when you look back on Kobe's youth, people are going to be saying, look at who you coached.
Right.
At this early age. And is that not a sign of his accomplishment?
Right.
To even be asked to. I tried to take another view of this because one could argue that, he's a young guy, young coach in a hell of a position.
Right.
And does he need time to grow into it too?
Right.
So I think he'll be judged by how they do as a playoff.
Okay.
In the playoffs. I think he will be around. I think part of the reaction against him is just part of the reaction against the Heat in general.
True.
But, you're going to have the same – I think people will really get over it because is that not what's happening with New York? And, you have players that are initiating trades, or at least they're actively involved in promoting certain kinds of things.
Right.
I give him a break, Vic. I think more like your number one. I think he will remain the coach this year, but depending upon what happens in the playoffs, he may not be the coach for the 2012 season because it's a short leash he's on. Yeah,
and you hit the nail on the head for me too, because I said that he has to turn around. We're already a few weeks away from what we call the playoffs. So even if you have to play at such a great level that there are glaring weaknesses in your organization, and it's not at the last second shot. If that's your biggest problem, that you're in games all the time up until the last second shot, that's not the biggest problem to me. The biggest problem is that your first half of the game is always better than your second half of the game, and it's what everybody said at the beginning of the season before it started. You don't have a bench. Done.
And so how much of that is the coach's fault, by the way? See what I'm saying?
Right.
Or is it the fault of you remember now you got a very strong GM, Pat Riley.
Right.
Okay, so you could argue no one ever gives Pat any crap.
No, they don't. No,
and he's the one who,
Yeah, and Mar, you make a good point. If you compare New York Knicks' run at this moment, they're playing 500 ball. Denver's doing quite well as it relates to the trade. Memphis, who didn't do any major trades, is playing great ball. You see areas where people are accomplishing gains in certain areas. I think the part, when you look at the schematic of the game and the game planning on the floor, I noticed that if you're the team that says it's going to be D Wade or LeBron, they're going to take the ball and then they're going to try to do what they call most of the time an outside shot away from the 3-point line, and maybe we're going to take them to the weak side because they won't pass off And the motion people are going to stay fixed where they are. They're not going to move so they can get an assist, or we're not going to take it to the foul line and see if we can win on foul shots or anything. None of that is schemed at all. So something is being missed in the translation of, well, if you're 1-18, at what point do you change and say this philosophy don't work anymore?
I agree with you. That's my part, and we alluded to that. That's the part where it looks like the coaching.
Right.
But how strong is he as the coach? Is he actually? They seem to lack a clear identity.
Right.
And like I said, to me, the problem I think they have in those last seconds of games, besides the fact that they just miss shots.
True.
But you can't blame the coach just for that.
No.
Besides the missed shot, is that they're not clear to me amongst themselves who is the man of the hour.
Right. And Mario, everybody knows this, who are in the coaching aspects. The ball can travel farther and quicker to its destination with less dribbling. Meaning that if you actually move the ball, you can move the ball to have people overcommit or not commit at all to free up a better shot. Your three-point shooter, the best who won the three-point championship in the All-Star game, far as the three-point shot, is Chalmers. So why isn't he taking the three-pointers more than anyone else if he's the best three-point shooter on the team?
Exactly. That's where I go, like, where's the coaching? That's the part I do fault for the coach. I fault the coach for.
Right.
But then again, I wonder about the influence of those star players like LeBron.
Right.
And is he really coachable in that situation?
I think, here's the part.
By Erik Spoelstra.
You look at the former coach at Cleveland, who says, look, you guys thought it was bad. And what was his last name? Brown? I can't remember.
Oh, yeah.
Brown.
When you think about it, he looks better with time, huh?
Way better, because he said, at least I got to a championship.
That's right.
At least we took less as it relates to star power to a championship or to at least the finals. So what I think they had in Cleveland was glaringly great support at the bench level, and I think that's what's happening here. So my thing is I don't know if he can turn it around. I think right now they're on a course right now. I said it's going to take an amazing turnaround, and I think the part's going to come into play is that bench. That bench is their glaring weakness, and I think it's rearing its ugly head because the Mike Millers, everyone else, they're not really offsetting any other support because you got to rest LeBron and Wade in the second half because they can't play those fully loaded minutes. It's going to catch up with them in the playoffs. All right, we're going to go to the next subject here. I know a lot of folks may or may not follow, but we're in March. And I don't feel the madness yet, but Mario, do you think?
I can't wait.
You can't wait, right?
I can't. I love March Madness. It's some of the best basketball.
Yeah.
And I mean, people who really are throwing down. I can't wait to see who steps up.
Right.
And gives me the people to look for next year.
Yeah.
In the NBA.
Yeah. The one thing that suffers a little bit as it relates to March Madness is that we don't get the group of players we follow for at least 2 years. We're in a one-and-done system. I have no complaints about that opportunity. You get your opportunity.
Y'all got this whole playoff mess.
Well, it's not a bad thing, though, Mario. It's a good thing.
Right, okay.
You just don't get married to the players. You have to marry the group of players right now this year, and then you lose them, and it starts all over.
Right.
Hence, you are in it for the moment.
That's right. There you go, college ball. I mean, it changes. People move on.
Yeah, thank you.
Some graduate, and other ones just move on.
They just move on, which we don't have a story yet as it relates to March Madness, and the traditional favorites are already there. You look at Ohio State, Kansas, Pittsburgh, and you still got San Diego State, BYU. They're talking it up, but we are not going to get into this until they start playing games. So what it made me think of, following the story of the Fab Five, I actually can't wait to see this story. It's
great movie short.
Man, it is going to be hot because you don't realize it's 20 years.